My greetings, everyone. Time is 7 o'clock. Going to give folks a few more minutes to get in, and in 2 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get this started. So, thanks everyone for coming out, taking your time. Really appreciate it. We had a busy week, and to come out on a Saturday evening, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, for my Joe.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Joe.
All right. Time is 7:02. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As folks come in, I guess they will get caught up in terms of what we're doing. So, greetings, everybody. I'm Kwesi Amoa. As you know, many of you know, most folks in here is family. I've known me since I was a kid growing up in Bosunji Muwozi. So I've been around for a little bit. I guess I'm a little long in the tooth. I'm one of the younger folks, quote unquote, younger folks. I'm getting up there in age now, though, but as many of you guys know, Akom is something that's dear to my heart. I think it has been one of those things that helped save my life. So for those who don't know my story, I grew up in Queens. When Nana Opare Zulu opened up the center, I was one of the first people to meet him. I was a young man that met him, got him into the building so he can see what it was because it was abandoned garage and it was across the street from my grandmother's house. So I'm one of those people that I feel that Nana Yao Parry Dini Zulu saved my life in the sense that as a young child, I had a lot of anger in me. I was very, very angry. And primarily because of just the injustices of growing up in this country. And one of the things that he said as growing up, or he said that I heard him say, he said that you too have a culture, you too have um, a people, because everything in the society was just based on European culture and stuff like that. And he changed the whole picture, the whole thinking process by uttering those simple words. It wasn't but for me, it was magical. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, I never thought of myself as having my own culture, having my own language, having my own dress, because it was always the dominant society that was pushing on you. So for him just to utter those words was altering, life altering for me because it put me on a different trajectory. And I'm sure people who've interacted with him um, can attest to the same thing that he said something to them that put them in a different direction, that changed the direction of their life. So, having said that, recently I had a conversation with a senior Okonfo, and elder in the community. And one of the things that she said to me was that this Akom is a religion. As a result of saying, well, Akom is a religion, it got me to thinking about, well, why is it a religion? So I never really thought of it as a religion. So with that said, I recorded a video that describes my thoughts in this. And then after doing that, we can get into discussions. But I've kind of jumped the gun in terms of just talking. So we should probably just open up with a brief prayer and give thanks. So I'll open up. Ang Yankapon Trinapon Kwame and Sa Sigara Sa Na and Sa and Tubri and Sa, Tinga and Sa, Munina Basum Sa, Munina Smafon, Wonderoma, Yefreba Ko Yefreb him. No, me a Konfo Kwesi or Numa Tinga. I come to you this evening to say Madasi Pa, for to wake up this morning, good mind, good health, and good strength. I thank you for all the creature comfort that you bestowed upon me. I thank you for all the people here on this call this evening who have come to share. We all come with good mind and good health, good strength, good intentions. Allow this conversation to be good and allow it to be strong for us. Allow it to be eye-opening for us. Allow it to be strengthening to our spirits as we go about our day, as we go about our rest of our evening. Allow this time for us to fellowship, to rejuvenate our energy and our thoughts and our mind. So we say Madasi Pa for anyone. We come with peace. Anyone who comes with negative energy, negative thoughts, we ask that you disband it, dismiss it. We only come with love and strength and trying to improve ourselves as people, as a community. I say Madasi, tell me about you. Okay. With that said, I will show the video. Let's go here. Does everyone see that all right?
Yes.
All right, tell me if you can hear it. Greetings, Akom Kessie community. I am Kwesi Amoa, Executive Director of Akom Kessie Planning Committee. And today, I would like to share my thoughts on Akom in America. Does it meet the definition of religion? Excuse me. I recently had a conversation with a respected elder and senior Akomfo in the community. And she said, Akom is a religion in the United States. This statement got me to thinking, what makes Akom a religion? And if Akom is a religion, what defines religion? You see, as a young person growing up, I never thought of the culture as a religion. I believed it to be a way of life that involved living principles based on Ghanaian culture, in particular, the Akan people. So hearing religion got me to thinking. The concept of religion is deeply ingrained in human history and culture, yet defining it presents a complex and multifaceted challenge. Religion encompasses a wide range of beliefs, practices, and experiences that vary across cultural societies and individuals. So, can Akom practices be considered a religion? I also wanted to explore what was Nana Yao Opare's Dinizulu intent? What was his original intent? There are three historical perspectives on religion. Religion has been a fundamental aspect of human civilization since antiquity. It has evolved and adapted over time, reflecting the changing beliefs and values of societies. Historical perspectives on religion include 1, spirituality and the sacred. Religion often involves the recognition of spiritual dimensions of reality and the belief in the existence of the sacred. It encompasses rituals, myths, and symbols that connect individuals or communities with the divine or the sacred. 2, morality and ethics. Many religions provide moral and ethical guidelines that guide human behavior. These guidelines often address questions of right and wrong, justice, compassion, and the meaning of life.
3, community and identity. Religion often serves as a basis for community formation and identity. It fosters a sense of belonging among the adherents, creating social bonds and shared values. So based on the above information, I would say Akom checks all the boxes to be defined as a religion. But let's go a little further. To define religion comprehensively, we can identify several key components that are present in religious traditions. There are 5. 1, belief system. Religion typically involves a set of beliefs about the nature of the divine or the sacred, the cosmos, human existence, and the afterlife. 2, rituals and practices. Rituals and practices include ceremonies, prayers, worship, meditation, and other activities that connect individuals with the sacred and express devotion. 3, sacred texts and scriptures. Many religions have sacred texts or scriptures that serve as authoritative sources of guidance, doctrine, and moral principles. 4, religious institutions. Religions often establish institutions such as churches, temples, mosques, or synagogues that facilitate religious activities, community gathering, and leadership. And last but not least, 5, community and fellowship. Religious communities provide a sense of belonging, support, and fellowship among members. They often serve as a social and emotional anchor. So again, I would say Akom qualifies as a religion. Now, I'm sure members of our community would say we do not have sacred texts and scriptures, but we do. Although it is not obvious as being found in a single book, our sacred text is found in Adinkra symbols, proverbs, drum texts, gold weights, and even songs. We say we practice the culture, but this concept is really a misnomer. We practice the religion of Akom more so than the culture and have adopted the Akonide shrine structure, which is Guan in origin that has been canonized over the last 100 to 150 years. Their system of worship is based on venerating their ancestors. Now, let's turn our attention to Nana's intent. What I mean here is, what did Nana want when he brought the Akan traditions to America? What was his aim? To do this, I looked at the earliest writings of the time period. And Nana says, Nana Yao clearly states the Akan religion is an ancient West African religion. It goes back as far as time immemorial. It embraces the beliefs of multiple souls and multiple gods. The religion utilizes the various natural forces of energies found throughout the world, such as in the lagoons, the lakes, the sacred trees, the rivers, and the forests. We call on these spiritual forces, which are representative of Almighty God. These elements of nature are known to perform. We use these forces in order to participate in our religion. In the Khan Priest in America, Nana Yao says, we should instead pay direct homage to and become astute in our religious traditions. It is from religious traditions that a man is inspired to develop the various political, architectural, and social sciences of his own society. And lastly, I found this book from Doris V. Bright. In her dissertation, she interviewed Nana Yao Opare Dini Zulu I. It reveals, we give them concepts of the religion, the gods, how they work, what is the purpose of worshiping the gods, etc. When Nana Yao was alive, he served as the spiritual and political leader of Akans in America. So I think it's fair to say he wanted a religion that worshiped African gods. And as part of the religion, he wanted tenets of Akan culture to be incorporated into the belief system. Remember, the culture is not the religion. Having said all this, one must give kudos to Nanas Opare and Dini Zulu for their foresight in transferring the religion to the United States. Nana Opare took a huge risk in bucking tradition, and Nana Yao altered the thinking of Black Americans by expressing anti-establishment views on religion and self-image. I am sure his vision of Black Americans returning to their ancient gods saved many lives. However, with all the good, I do believe we can do better after 55 plus years. What do we have to show for their hard work? Are we more unified as a result? Are we working towards a common vision? Our elders will not be around for another 50 years. So where is the continuation? Are we building on the knowledge taught? Are our families better off? The verdict is still out. We do have many shrine houses in America. The religion is established despite the gaps. But what about the political? The shrines inspired the political system, i.e. chieftaincy, to assist in administering the state. At Akom Kesi 2018, I asked, who is the next Oman Heni of Akans in America? And why has the community leadership not installed an Oman Heni? One of the reasons Nana Yao Opare Dinizulu I was respected by Ghanaian chiefs is because he had a following in America. After the death of Nana Kamati Dinizulu in 2013, there has been no movement on this must-have position. Nana Yao Opare Dinizulu I envisioned us adopting the culture. He tried to put in place both political and spiritual structures, but 32 years later, we have a moderate following of the religious practices, mostly propagated by Akomfo. So, Akom is a religion. The elder was right. If we look at how Akom is structured and practiced in America, it has all the hallmarks of a religious institution. Although we say we practice the culture, we really practice the religion of Akom, structured after the Guan Nanakan people of Ghana. In addition, Nana Yao Opare Dinizulu I did want a religion for Black Americans to model on African traditional religion. Again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing your comments.
All right. Can anybody hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, so that senior Akomfo that I was talking to was Nana Adzua. Many of you guys know Nana Adzua. Nana Adzua has been a bedrock in this community since the beginning. She was with Nana when he did his initial traveling with Bosum Jimawozi, with the first Bonsufier, I think on Crescent Street, which I wasn't around then. And then the one on Sufton Boulevard, and now she's on one of the main pillars for Nipo Busia in terms of founding. So she's been around and she's seen it all. So she is the most senior of the senior in terms of folks that's been around in this culture. So Nana Adzua, I say Madasi Pa for you, for your thoughtfulness, for the things that you do and say within this community. You've been around a long time doing this, and you're still one of the faithful who continue to support Akom in America. So I say Madasi to you for that and for your fortitude and continuing this. So what I wanted to do with this was to have your reflections on this. So it's one thing for me to say these things, but it's another thing for you to say these things, because what you are saying is going to carry more weight than what I'm saying, because you're longer in the you have more seniority and you've been around and you were there. You were one of the premier architects in terms of doing this. So we as a community would love to hear your thoughts and reflections in terms of, I know you didn't know did the video, but I did send you the letter that you read, but I tried to mix it up. Let's do a video this time and send it out to folks. So with that, I say Aquala.
Thank you. I think that most of the people here have heard Nana speak on this subject. And one of the things he used to say all the time is that in this country, we have to live according to the laws that are here. And even though his thought was that we would be better off as a people if we could remake ourselves into an African mind, which was going to be a very hard thing for us to do considering where we live. And he would say that one of the things that confuses and complicates progress for us is the fact that we all have these 12 years of European psychology and education, and it's supposed to make us come out thinking like a European. And his whole goal was to reverse that whole process and try to create an environment where our children could grow up in an environment where they could be thinking like an African. This is what he wanted us to do in everything, think like an African, because he felt that that's what would propel us forward as into the future. And that would be what would help us to understand who we were and what we were here for. One of the things about religion in this country is he showed us many a time that you could practically do anything in the name of religion. And one of the things I hear people say all the time is about how the Jewish people get away with this and they can do that and nobody says any, but a lot of that is because they do it under the heading of their religion. Their religion supports what they do, how they live. And this is what he kept trying to show us over and over again. We had a debate once before, a long time ago. Some of the elders had a debate as to whether or not it was a culture or a religion. And I would say that amongst the Akom people in Ghana, it's a culture because everything they do incorporates their religion. So through the day, at some point in time, even when they call themselves a Christian, they're doing something that reflects their religion, or they're calling on their ancestors in some way or form that shows their religion, that is an example of them practicing their religion. Here in the United States, it's a lot different for us. We're in a different environment, and we have to figure out how that works for us. And that's one of the reasons why we can separate religion out of the culture, because everything we do does not reflect our culture. We're living in the midst of a whole different culture.
So how, in your estimate, how do we bring, and I guess it's not either a good or bad thing, how do we bring more of the culture into the religion, I guess? Or do you think that's even possible to be done?
That's very hard to
America?
say. Yeah, at this point, it's kind of hard to say, because culture is the food you eat, the way you dress, the laws you follow, all of that.
Mhm.
as you explained earlier. And it's a little hard to do it every day here all the time. Because once you leave, you can do it in your house. Once you leave your house, there are other things you have to take into consideration in this environment. So it's a little hard to say that you can do it all the time, every day in this environment. And another thing that I noticed recently that kind of gives me I have to sit back every time I hear it. And especially I've been hearing it this year, especially because this is 50 years of hip hop. And when I listen to certain radio stations, they're saying the culture, and my head does a thing because to me that means something else altogether. But they're referring to hip hop as the culture. And I find it so strange. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that.
So you're saying the hip hop culture is the 50 years of hip hop culture, and it's the culture for what? Just Black Americans hip hop is?
This is what they're saying. Basically, that's what they're saying. And it's amazing to me. Because the only place I ever heard that terminology, the culture, used was amongst people who were of African mind.
African, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts in terms of us moving this thing forward? I mean, I think that's critical. I mean, I've had several conversations with the elders before in terms of the legacy planning and making sure that this thing does not die. I mean, I'm very concerned that it will, because it's not embraced the way you and the first family and the first people that came through embraced it in terms of making it a way of life and living. And then I'll be happy to hear from other people as well in terms of what their thoughts are. But I'm concerned, and I'm very concerned, and I keep raising that flag. Like, look, this cannot die. It cannot die.
Well, honestly, I think that that should be a part of all of our prayers every single day, that it doesn't die, that our children will be able to carry it forward no matter what. You said something in the words that you spoke in the beginning to open the program about coming together and working together. And I think that might be the one thing that may save us, because we're very small groups, like dots all over the place. And I think we need to join together, at least at some point, to make a point that we're here and that we're thriving. And that we're building and progressing.
So do you think that chieftaincy would help bring that together?
I honestly don't know, because chieftaincy is a system in Ghana that has been in existence for
Time memorial, since the beginning, yeah.
yes,
Long
thousands of
time.
years, right?
Mhm.
So it's not just something that's suspended on its own. It's supported by the political structure, the religious structure, the culture, everything supports it. When people say, this is my chief, they rally around that chief and they give their loyalty to that chief. Here you're dealing with a mindset of people often who have been taught to be individuals and that the individual rules. It's kind of hard sometimes to get through to that.
Okay. So in your mind or in your thinking, what steps can we take besides just hoping that the young people will pick it up? What steps can we ensure that it's not a choice, like they will?
I don't know. To me, you start with the fundamentals, and I think that we all need to make an effort to find the positive in each other and stop calling out the negative so that we can all move with a greater respect for each other. And our children will follow that.
So we have some other elders that are on this Zoom call this evening. Do you have any thoughts or reflections in terms of hearing this piece?
Mipacho, this is Mami Adzua. I'm not on Mami Adzua, but Mipacho, Mami Adzua on you now, okay? Before I start, I just want to help reinforce what our host, Dr. Kwesi Amoa, said about Nana Adzua Parry, that in terms of being the elder priest, she is the most elder priest. She is the first priest that was initiated by Nana Yao Parry Dinizulu in 1969. So in terms of respect and accolades and keeping history straight, I think it's important for that fact. In terms of the topic today, and I did listen to your video, and I did hear you talk about a senior priest, and of course I wondered who that was.
That's what I have for you.
My first reaction was one, I'm totally confused, okay? Because my idea of a comb was that a comb was the spiritual celebration, a celebration where we called on the gods, the ancestors, the spirits, to thank them and to ask for their continued participation in our lives, and that it was a ceremony. And the idea of religion is the same as what Mami Adzua, my understanding, my initial understanding of religion as given by Nana Yao Parry Dinizulu, to me, as I understood it, was that you don't separate the religion from the culture. And so that when people spoke about our religious practices, it wasn't a name given to it. You would see in writings that people would refer to it as traditional religion, but I think that's because they needed to give it some kind of title that they kind of understood, but that the religion as we practice would have been more correctly described as described by the particular ethnic group or people that participated in those particular rites. Because we know that although religious practices are the same, they differ greatly from country to country, from clan to clan, and sometimes from village to village. So you would hear sometime the God religion, the Akom religion, the Ashanti religion, identifying it with the people and therefore identifying with the culture. So to call the religion Akom, I'm just wondering if that's because we feel a need to give our religion a name. And then in giving it a name, it is also easier to remove it from the culture. And so in reality, if we're trying to reclaim, we do know that over the years things do change. We do know that there's modifications. But if we're trying to reclaim, we want to know as much about our ancestral culture, our ways of life. And as you said, those things are taught through proverbs, drum texts, songs, word of mouth, because we have an oral tradition. We don't really have a written tradition, although we do have a symbolic tradition with the use of Adinkra symbols and so and so. But to me, it seems like it's an attempt to remove it from traditional African culture so that it becomes all right to sing Akom songs in English. It becomes all right to change certain rituals because now it's kind of moved out of traditional African values. I mean, as I said, we know things are going to change, but what is the foundation? Are we really trying to stay with the foundation, or are we trying to move it away where it can be more acceptable to the mainstream of people? So I'm going to wind up by saying, yeah, I'm kind of really confused about this because, yeah.
So one of the things that I don't think that we do enough here is, we have these shrines here in America, but we need these shrines to work for us here, not how they would work in Ghana. And although we might have received the powers from there, the question is, how are they manifesting themselves in our lives here? And I don't think, I know Nana AC, for example, she was like, the older Konfo are at the shrine house before the younger people do. We should be there before they should be there. But we're not. We're coming and dragging in there. So what's the disconnect that's happening? So that's not happening. So there's some level of disconnect that's occurring in terms of the practice. So how do we identify that and how do we correct it? And giving it the name Akom or calling it Akom practice or African traditional religion, and like in my mind, I don't think of a separation. I'm saying as it is practiced here in America, it is practiced like a religion. So that's the point I'm trying to make, that Akom practices, what we do falls in line as being religious and not necessarily cultural, everyday way of life type thing. And then, anybody's free to chime in. I mean, you might have a different experience. So part of us getting together is to have these conversations and to share what it is that we do or what it is that we think. And as a result of sharing, we develop some type of census or common understanding as to how we're using this here in America. And I've said this forever. It's like we can't do what's done in Ghana. Some of the things that they do, some of the rituals that they do, a whole bunch of stuff that goes down there cannot be done here because of the place that we're in. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean that we can't have the shrines, we can't have the spirit working with us to empower and make our lives better here in this place.
I'm just going to say that it can be what you're saying, religious practices, but are we going to use the word Akom to describe what we do? That's why I want to know this definition. Are we?
So,
is it an evolving definition? Is it a different?
so I mean, a comb is going to be different based on the shrines that you have, but a comb is a catch-all phrase. So just like you said, you have the Shanti, you have the Ga, you have the Bono, you have whatever different region, the Aqua Pim, however those things might go down. You'll have different practices, but they all fall in that traditional religion, traditional frame. So they're not just it's not just it's a generic catch-all term. So the shrines aren't all the same. The Guan shrines aren't the same as the Akan shrines, but there's some similarities in terms of their function.
I'm just asking, when did the definition change? Who changed it? And is this the new? Did it change from being a ceremony to a religion? This all I want to know. Where did the change come about? It wasn't like that when Nana was around. I don't know of any elder that I'm associated with who changed the definition from
The definition of a comb, you're saying, right? What is a comb?
Yes.
Maatter, this is Mommy Enya. I remember way back in the days when I was talking, and I remember a conversation came up, or somebody was around Nana, and they said, "Well, what is your religion called?" And Nana looked at us and said, "Well, how would you describe the religion?" So one of our members said, one of the priests said, we believe in the Abosum and the Nsamanfo, the gods and the ancestors. He said that's our religion. So I mean, that was the terminology he had used back then. And I always, from that point on, I would just like say, when people say, what is your religion? I would just tell them, the gods and the ancestors. The Akom was the religious practice. It was the service. That was the religious service. But like you said earlier, we did not have a specific name for the religion, like Christianity or Muslim or Judea. Yeah. So, and then, if you look at a lot of other traditional religions throughout the world, they don't have a name for their religion. It's just something that is so ingrained in their culture that it's all becomes a part of it. I know we had when we was teaching in school, we had a proverb, and I forget what the proverb was, but something about culture. And I would always ask the kids, so what is culture? So they would tell me different aspects of culture, and then I was like, but you're leaving out the most important one, which was religion. Religion is part of your culture. And everywhere you go, religion is a very important part of the mosaic of what a people are, no matter whether they're white, Asian, African, Hispanic, Native American. Their culture is based on their religious belief. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
For those people who do not know that voice, that's Nana Inyo. She is also one of the senior elders in the community, and she's been around since the beginning as well. She's gone through everything from the beginning to now. So we appreciate you too for all the work that you have done and continue to do for the community, Nana. Thank you. And she's a wealth of information as well.
Nana Adzua Mipachos, this is Conferencia. Want to greet you first.
Oh, greetings. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Just wanted to kind of join into this conversation. I was hearing a lot of things. One thing, and I don't want to undermine too, the last point that you were raising, which I think is a very significant point, Kwesi, was about our young people and keeping them entrenched with the same energy that people who came through earlier had. And, what do we do about that? That is a concern of mine. And one, too, that I share in terms of what's missing, what's different. So just want to put that there. But then I want to now kind of just jump over to the Akom and the religion before we kind of move away from that. A very dear person who is no longer in the human brain with us, Charity Fo, Kwesi Akom. He was our tree teacher, and he was the person who taught us tree and a lot about the culture. Thank all of you. Many of you on the call know him. Something he shared with us during one of our sessions was the meaning of the word Akom. Okay. He put it in perspective with Akumfo. And once he finished with putting those two together and connected it, there was no way that I ever wanted to not have Akumfo associated with my name. I definitely want to be an Akumfo in terms of how he defined it. So how did he define this? He did say, as it's been coming up with my sister Inyo, my sister Inson, and my mother's sister aunt, Nana Adzua, that it is a ceremony. It is a gathering. It is a celebration, but it's a very special one. It is set for people to join and connect with the spiritual element, with the gods, with the deities. It's the time when people make the connection with the gods and the deity. That's what goes on with that celebration. That's why it's different from a puberty rite or a naming ceremony. It is a specific ceremony, a specific celebration, when the whole purpose is to allow those of us who are on this human plane going through to connect with the gods, to connect with the spiritual energy, to connect with all of that. And an Akomfo is a person who facilitates that ceremony, facilitates that connection. So yes, I want to be one of the people. And yes, I am one of the people. And yes, do use that with my name, because that means it's such a different thing. So I don't know, Twin. The definition hasn't changed for me from what Cheddar Fo said. It's that celebration. It's that high time. It's when we connect, which is what we do at Akoms, when we connect with that spiritual energy and we connect there. And that Akumfo is a person who facilitates that ceremony, who facilitates that connection. So religions, in terms of that, how people, whatever they do, all of their celebrations to connect, with Inyame, that's not the definition, of Akom or Akumfo, according to Cheddar Fo, which every time I even think about it, in terms of just fills my heart, that we have a celebration where we connect with the deities, and we do. none of the surgery, none of the coping. We connect with them, and that's what we do. And it is the Akum who facilitate that process. So that's what I want to say about that. Now, jumping back to the other piece, it is a very serious concern for me, with regards, and maybe because I'm in that elder group, that what's happening, what will happen with what we have been doing for, my gosh, over 50 something years, and where is that energy? Where is that connect? And I know that one thing, I think about it in terms of when I was young in age, that the culture and practicing it was 24/7. If I wanted to do something, I checked that, with Nana, the elders, I moved that way. I checked within in terms of finding out in terms of any spiritual connection, but it was 24/7. When we came together a lot more and talked about what we were doing, when we did come together, we always practiced the culture. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about our young people. When we were coming up and our babies were born, they didn't get past any adult without culture. That was it. We didn't go past an older person without culture. We did that, but that doesn't happen now. And our kids are coming up and they are allowed to do a lot more things. It's not ingrained in the head. And I think that's where you were going with the whole situation of talking about Akom and religion, Quincy, that people don't see it the same way. They don't see the significance, the seriousness, the beauty of it, the strength of connecting with the gods, because they're moving. If they saw that, they wouldn't be moving away. And they wouldn't be treating it, quote, like people treat some religions, like going there on Sunday and going on certain days. And that's the only time that they're doing it. It's not 24/7. So yes, we do need to have a very serious conversation and come up with a process as to how to get our young people back ingrained and to love the culture as much as older people who are around do, to appreciate it and to see its strength and value, and to know that at the end of the day, it's the only thing that is going to save and help us. So, Madasi for.
So for people who have not know that voice or who are new, Nana Intia has also one of the founding members. She's been around for, I don't know, since 1971. Before that, she's one of the first Akomfos. Well, you was in the first class, right, Nana?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so she's been around. She's the spiritual leader for Bosum or for Nipa in Washington D.C. For those who don't know, and she's been around for forever. That's a good thing. So don't think it's bad. It's a good thing.
Yes, when Nana was living, I represented him in DC, and now I represent Nana AC, Nana Adzua, in terms of our organization here in DC.
So we thank you as well for being a stalwart in the community and for all the work that you've done over the years, and just for being consistent. And that means a lot, especially for people to see and to have an anchor. So you've definitely provided that. So we thank you as well.
Yes, Daniel.
So Sister Akoshua, Nana Akoshua, Asaba, are you there? Did you leave? Are you still there?
Oh, yes. Greetings, Nana.
Could you explain your comment that you put into the to the chat?
Yes, my name is Nana Kosoa Sabia. Many of you may know my husband, Nana Kosechi. He was the first to go to Techumangana and bring back a Tano shrine. When he was there, he went there in 1989. He was curious to the elders. It was like, we know this is called Akan spirituality, traditional religion. He's like, what do you call this? What is it that we do? And Nana Donko, who was one of the people who trained him with Nana Kumsa and Nana Ifa, Nana Donko thought to himself, he's like, the elders used to call this Kompan Adepa. And they use it sparingly, not as a separation, but if you break down the word kumpan, you have Akom, which is part of that. And Akom has the meaning of the spiritual service, for lack of a better word, the actual Akom, but it also has another meaning to do without or to withhold, because when Akomfo are training, they have taboos, they have to be celibate, they have to withhold. Sometimes they go hungry because if you look at the word, when you say Akom, it means I'm hungry. So when you're fasting, sometimes you're doing a comb, you barely eat all day because you're doing a comb. So a comb has many layers. So you have that kumpan comes from the word panyin, meaning something very old. So this Akom, this spiritual practice, this spiritual tradition is very old, the word panyin. And adepa means it is good. He also said that there's a kente cloth that is associated with the term kumpan adepa, that this is something like a kente you weave in and out of the different strings and fabrics. That kumpan adepa or a comb is something that is woven throughout every aspect of life. So it touches every aspect of life. And so that's why they call it kumpan adepa, at least in the Bono and Techiman region. They speak a dialect of Bono Tree. So when he said this, he said, okay, so Nana Sechi said, I want to use this and try to revive this, to say this is something that is Akum, the spirit is good. It's very old and ancient, and it touches all aspects of life. So Madasi for the opportunity to explain.
Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah,
There's a couple of comments in the chat. We have Gigi Nelson, which says, I am brand new to all of this, but does things in English make the culture/religion more acceptable to the mainstream, or just more acceptable to people who are interested in learning? And then there's another comment by Nasilia Jones. I think the young people feel like it's us versus them, or youth versus elders, and we need to connect and have intergenerational transmission of stories of our culture, and also show them how they will take the reins and move us as a people forward. So anybody's free to comment on either one of those comments. And then 904, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, could you share after this, if anyone has any comment on this, share the letter that you sent, the email that you sent to me with the community?
Yes, I'll hold off while people
You'll
respond.
pull it up? Okay.
Hey,
So,
Nana, it's me, Pacho.
hey, Nana, how
This
you
is,
doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How is everyone? I hope everyone is well. I have so many thoughts going through my head right now. I'm not even sure what to come out, what to let out first. Nana Encia, I loved what you said. We were taught that this culture, and I do think it is a culture, is 24/7. My family comes from the Caribbean, from Jamaica. When I went to Ghana, there was very little that was different from what they were doing in Ghana and what we did in Jamaica. When I first came into this culture, it was easy for me to, quote unquote, assimilate into it because it felt like home. And I'm not sure if Caribbean people have a different perspective, but when I teach classes for people who want to learn about the culture, when they're from the Caribbean, they scoop it up because it feels so familiar to them. I do believe that what we do is cultural, and culture is not stagnant, which means that we may not be practicing the tradition exactly the way they practice it in Ghana, right? We may not be practicing it exactly that same way, but we have to make changes and adoption for where we are and how we are. So somebody said, I want to make the comment about the English piece. I think that one of the things that I learned is that the language teaches the culture, and taking classes on how to speak Tree, I've learned that more and more. The more you learn the language, the more you understand the culture. However, Tree is not our first language, and I see nothing wrong with adopting songs that we sing and to sing them in English. And I'll give you an example. There's a Nana AC song where she says, "Wherever I go, I am the same." And she starts naming all the different places that she is the same. So why can't we say, instead of saying a place in Ghana that we don't know, why can't we say Brooklyn? Why can't we say Queens? Why can't we say Florida? Because that is more applicable to us here. And when you sing a song in your first language, the feeling is totally and completely different. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't sing songs in Tree, absolutely not. What I'm saying is to make the change from their culture to our culture is that we do a combination of both. And there was an Akom Kessie where a sister said she takes the spirituals and they're playing those drums and they're singing the spirituals. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that we have a twisted idea of culture, and we are the ones who should define ourselves. I think that is what Kujichagulia, self-determination. We can define ourselves. We don't have to go by the constructs that the Western society gives us. We have an opportunity to define ourselves. We can make lots of adjustments. Chieftaincy is handed down in Ghana from one member of the family to, I think, the nephew, right?
The nephew, yeah.
I don't believe that we would be able to do that here. But we do honor people like senators and congressmen. Why don't we make a change? And why don't we elect the people then who are going to be the chiefs, the representatives? Because there's so many different factions, so many different houses, so many different people who practice Akom, which I agree is what we do. Then we can bring everybody together by saying, we're going to elect our next. We do have a chief now, Kwesi Ajamin, right, is one of our chiefs. But the next Olin Henny, maybe we should elect that person. Then we'll bring everybody into it. I'm going to stop talking because I could go on forever. But I think there's certain ways that we can make systematic changes in the tradition. There's one more thing that I'm going to say that might sound a bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway. We were taught the tradition of the Guan people of Ghana. I've never felt Guan, and I know my family is Ashanti, right? I am deeply, deeply appreciative of what was given to us. But just because something is given to you one way does not mean that you have to hold it exactly that way. The head of the shrine is an ancestral spirit. Somebody in the chat said, the first thing we start with is family, right? Start with your family and the ancestors in your family that help you, and build it the same way the shrines, the Guan shrine was built. We can do that, and it doesn't take anything away from what we do or how we do it. Having said that, I'm going to release the floor back to everyone, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
No, me Paucho.
No. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Auntie Amadama.
I like Nana Insia have a lot of different thoughts. One thought that I had when Nana Akom Insia was talking about the Akom being facilitated by the Akomfo, one thought I had, and the question came, must we wait for the Akom to connect? And I say that because I think it's important that we teach the children their value to the community. We understand the role of the Akomfo, and we understand how the Abosun operate within our lives and how, they come to us either through the kuru, the pot, or divination, or Akoms. But maybe the children, a lot of times the children don't really understand what they're seeing at Akom. And when you question children, sometimes they see the rituals and they may know the dances and they may know the songs, but I'm not sure they understand their role in the community. And I think that's a piece that might be missing. And if we give more of them those conversations and that value, they're more likely to maintain the traditions. I think sometimes we assume certain things, but they're not necessarily understood. And even we don't understand everything. We're pioneers in this land. So there's certain things that, I've been involved for a very long time, and at least I feel like it's been a very long time. And there's still a lot of the things that I don't really understand. So like Nana Adzua said, we've been given so many years of a different mindset through education. It's something I think that each of us as individuals have to be introspective about. What am I doing? How am I doing it? And how am I going to transfer this to my youth? And I'm not going to say anymore. Madasi.
So for you guys that know Auntie Amadama, Nana Amadama, she is she's been around for a while as well. I think how long has it been, Auntie? Did I leave? Did I lose you?
Sorry. I had muted. 76, I first started coming around.
76. So she sits on the Council of Elders, her as well as Auntie Anana Ama Ama Willock also sit on the Council of Elders. So they've been around for a while and they've been stellars within the community. So Nana Amadama, we thank you for your service and the things that you've done for the community and always being willing to lend your thoughts, your ears, and your energy to whatever's being done within the community. So definitely thank you. And Nana Ama Willock, I did not tell you thank you as well because you've been around for a while as well, and you've always supported whatever's going on in the community, regardless of what shrine house it is. You've always been there lending your support. So we thank you as well for everything that you've done to help continue this culture.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hi, this is Akom for Answer Ajimentias. How are you?
Hey, Auntie, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm going to go off on a different tangent here, and this is something that really it bothers me, and I'd like to know how we can rectify it. There are many houses across the United States that do not know Nana Yao Perry Dinizulu the First, and it bothers me. And I've even had people from Kentucky to send me articles, about the Akan culture. When there's no mention of Nana, there's no mention, and I've had conversations with other people about it. And I would like to know how we can. Here it is that we're in 2020, about to go into 2024, when there's so many houses that have no idea of what the history of Akans in America. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm really happy about the fact that so many are practicing, the Akan, culture and the religion. I'm overjoyed about it. However, I do want to see some continuity where all of these, houses need to know who Nana Yao Opare Dinizulu the First and his contributions to the Akans in America. And so that's something that that I think that if we can put our heads together and see what can be done about it, because I don't think that that we should continue in that vein without, you know, as many houses across the United States knowing who he is and who and what he has brought to our culture. Thank
So,
you.
so Nana, so to answer your question in terms of people knowing about Nana Yao Paradini Zulu the first. So for that to happen, it requires unity. So because it's not happening, we are not unified. So people and I'm going to be very frank and honest because that's the only way I know how to be when it comes to this. Whatever the rift that happened between Nana Yao Parry, Dini Zulu, and Nana Kuya Parabia, and it went in this divergent path, whatever that is, which I really don't care as a child of this, other people do. Older generation does. They have their issues and they chose to ignore Nana Yao Paradini Zulu, and Nana Kuya Parabia is the end all and everything, and she's the one, and you have that. So let's be honest in terms of saying what it is. We know that that's an issue, and it has been an issue for a long time. So when do we come together, squash the beef, whatever that is, because they're both ancestors now? When do we stop that and come together and have this conversation and put this stuff out there the way that it needs to be put out there so that everyone could know, go forward and grow? Mistakes were made on both ends. We are human. No one is God. So for people to think that everything was just perfect, it was not perfect. And that's okay. But we have to have that conversation.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we have, like you said, and like you said, we have to come together, you know, as a unified front, and to put, you know, whatever grievances, you know, out there. I agree with it and deal with it, you know, because, you know, in terms of us moving forward, we need to, you know, and we have been skirting it here and there and everywhere, but it needs to be dealt with.
So the question is, who's to deal with that? Am I to deal with that as a young person when I don't even really know what the issue is? I just know that there's a problem. So who's to be the bigger person and say, hey, let's put all this nonsense aside and let's come together for the sake of our generations, for the sake of our legacies in this country in terms of what we've done with this and move this thing forward? Who's to do that?
Well, I think that that is a question that needs to be addressed. And I think that, you know, we have, you know, there's Nana Adzua and Nana AC, and, you know, they are our Akom, and maybe that's something that a group needs to be formed to deal with it.
Well, I'm more than happy to facilitate. I have no problem. I'll talk to everybody, but something has to happen. And like I
I
said,
agree.
Mi Pacho,
Oh,
Mi Pacho, Majo, everyone. This is Akom from Sewencia Addison. And going on to what this present conversation is about, in terms of who is supposed to handle that, we do have a council of elders. And I would think that that would be the first place to go to, because we do have people from the various houses. And I think that would be the first place to.
Ray Patronata, I'm going to be very honest. What council elder are you speaking of?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought turned with Amma Willock on it. And,
Oh, okay. You're talking about that. So that council elder, okay, all right. So it can come to them. They can go, if they can deal with, that's fine. All right.
I mean, because I thought the whole premise of that being formed was to handle issues that may come about. Correct. And then you also have elders in the various other houses who may not be
part of the Council of Elders, maybe you could reach out to them, but a discussion does need to be held. And I think that would be the first step towards trying to bring unification among all of us. Not to say that, one house is better than the other house, but, I think in order for us to grow within this country, we do need to have more unification among the houses.
So
Thank you.
Nana,
Well, excuse me. Some of the people that I think that, and I mean, I understand about who's on this Council of Elders, but some of the people who should be on this Council of Elders are not on this Council of Elders. And I think that is something that we need to look at as well. Say, for example, Nana Encia, here in DC, huh? I don't know whether she is or not.
After the Akom Kessie Council of Elders, people had opportunities to be on that.
Right. People had opportunities.
Including me. So,
Okay. All right.
People had opportunities.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you.
Yeah, people.
Okay.
People had opportunities. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
We have really lost. This is Bonkind, and I just want to say that when we started, it was during the Ungawa Black Power era, and everybody was gung ho. Things have changed, and religions evolve over decades, and basically, Akom in America is very new, so we just have to keep plugging. I mean, we have to keep doing what we've been doing. Keep the name of our ancestors and our gods on our tongues, and then our children will see that, yes, this is viable. It's based on what we do.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate, everyone chiming in on this issue, because I do believe that something needs to be done, and we need to address it and move on in a unified fashion. Thank you.
Nanomi Pacho, I'm going to put the email address for the Council of Elders established by Akom Kese in the chat. And I would appreciate it if we're going to be asked to deal with this, put it on the table, write us a letter, but you have to be very specific because not even I know what the RIF is. I would imagine that there may be some people on the Council of Elders who may know something, but we would need specifics in order to know how to address it. So please, anyone who wants us to address it, send us an email. Thank you.
Okay, Nana Kwesi.
Yes, are you ready for me?
I just wanted to respond to some of the comments. I'd like to first begin by saying I found very informative all the comments that have been made so far, especially by Nana Adzua, Nana Encia, and others. I think this is a very timely topic because, as you know, Nana Kwesi, you and I were talking a couple of months ago about the problem with the chain of knowledge being broken about our knowledge of our ancient ways due to colonialism and the need to reestablish that chain of knowledge. So on the topic itself, what I want to say is this, that most of us growing up, and I don't think I'm any exception, most of us came with the Christian church. And typically what happens on Sunday is that what's drilled into you is about what Christians believe with regards to having to be saved, something about there are parables that are taught, the Bible is referred to, basically, the whole cosmology or belief system with regards to what Christians believe, so like emphasize on Sunday. On the other hand, what we do as people who are part of Akom, a lot of it has to do with the power of what we do as priests. In other words, and this was typically how Akom, I think, is perceived in Ghana as well. That's a place you go to for power. If you want to get some money, you want to get a job, you have a problem to solve, you have a rift with somebody, then you go and see the Akom folks, sometimes under cover of darkness, right? So it's a place where you go to solve problems for healing. Okay, you can't get you think that the nature of your illness has a spiritual basis to it, so you go to the Comforter to be healed. So a Comforter perceived as healers, solvers of problems, people who know how to work with power. Okay, but little so there's there's little emphasis on what the belief system is. Nonetheless, Akom does have its own paradigm with regards to a creation story, with regards to judgment and afterlife, the divinity within. All of those are part of Akom, but it's not emphasized in the way that Christians constantly drill that on Sunday. When we get together with Akom, we have a ceremony where we connect with the gods. That's true, but we don't, and even with regards to how we're trained as priests, there's so much put into, okay, you got to learn how to do these beats, you got to learn the songs, you got to learn how to do this dance, you learn something about the language. At least in my case, very little is taught as far as the cosmology is concerned. Not to say it's not there, because it is there, but I would dare say that most of us that were part of Akom know not as much as far as the cosmology, what the belief system is, what our creation story is, what we believe happens as far as judgment is concerned, in the afterlife, or say that, what is the Accra? What is our connection with God Almighty? I think if you ask different people, you get a variety of different answers. There's no common understanding of those things. So part of this, I think, is perhaps it's two things. The reason why this happens, because number one, as you said, there's no text. It is, but as you said in your narrative at the beginning, it's in the drumming narratives, it's in the proverbs, it's in the cloth, it's in the Adinkra symbols, all of which are like symbolic and sometimes difficult to decipher. When it comes to the Yorubas, on the other hand, they can point to Ifa and say, this is our text, so to speak. But our ancestors were very wise in keeping a lot of the knowledge secretive. And there's a reason why they wanted to keep it secretive. And I respect that. Keeping something secret is power, all right? Because they knew that the Europeans were going to come and try and take this thing from us. So a lot of it was, say, kept in symbols, so to speak. When it comes to even the creation story, it's a drum narrative. So if you can't hear what the drums are saying, you have no idea that they're telling a creation story. Yeah. So all of that is this. So, and the other part of it is that the knowledge of those things can't, if they're kept a secret, then when you're invaded by another culture, Europeans came in, what was an oral tradition that was handed down to younger people, that can easily be cut when you're invaded and your society is disrupted. So here we are in 2023, dealing with a tradition that has deposited its ancient secrets in symbols, and now we're trying to resurrect those things and interpret symbols. It's not easy. It's not easy because it's going to be subjective. But nonetheless, that's the work that's cut out for us. That's all I want to say about that.
Thank you. That's 8:25. We're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna see. I saw Nana Kwesi on. Do you have any comments you'd like to add to this before we end this?
Hi, thank you. No, not really. I think it's been a very interesting conversation. I think I would have added something if I thought it was germane. I'm appreciative of you for organizing this conference. I saw your message that went out, and I think that having these kind of conversations, not just amongst ourselves, but with people who are less familiar with the history or the practices of Akan culture and Akan religion or Akan spiritual traditions, is helpful in terms of educating them. I know that's how I got involved, was somebody was talking to me about it and having these conversations about it. So trying to expose more people to it, I think would be helpful. Trying to encourage more people to see the benefits of it in their life would be helpful. But I think that's what we're doing already. I think sometimes we see, we may plant seeds and not see evidence of growth, but it doesn't mean that it's not germinating and that it's not growing. But I'm always anxious to participate in efforts to try and expand the work that's already been begun. So Madasi to everybody. I think it's been a very interesting conversation. Things need to be said and then resaid again and resaid even then again.
Well, thank you, Nana Gracie. We appreciate you. Nana Adzua, I'm gonna leave it to you for have the last word before we get up out of here.
I am deep in thought because I've listened to everything that everyone has said. I'm very grateful that everyone came on to this and spoke up, had thoughts and contributions of their own to make in this conversation. And I don't think we should end here. We should continue with this because maybe we will come together and figure out or solve how to move forward. One thing I wanted to ask though, Akom, for some reason, after listening to everybody, I remember that somewhere in the beginning, Akom was considered possession. The word meant possession, or an Akomfo was the vehicle of the possession. And I wanted to know if that is what everyone else understood or remembered, or has it changed? As Inson asked, has it changed?
I personally would like to respond to that by saying what I was taught from the very beginning, meaning that a comfort meant that someone who hungers for spirit. There's a word akom in there. Akom means hunger. So in this case, it means person that hungers for the spirit.
Okay, that would be like the literal, but to hunger for the spirit, what would that mean in English?
Everything's not easily translated in English because it's a different paradigm. It's very difficult sometimes. Sometimes there is no English equivalent because we refer to ourselves as priests. In the European paradigm, priests don't hunger for spirit. I mean, that's not the conceptual understanding.
So my thought, this is Ensom Panyin.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought on that is that it all kind of goes together. Just a little of the history is that initially when we went to Ghana, 1970, all in that area and whatnot, you could not find a comb. A comb was something that happened at shrine houses on holy days, or when the spirits or the ancestor, anybody that's at that shrine, decided that they wanted to communicate. And they would do it usually through somebody who was trained to do that, was the Akomfo. The Akomfo was the, and is the mediator between man and the spiritual forces. So for a person to come to see an Akom, they would be coming to a shrine for whatever reason they wanted to come to the shrine, help with. So they had a hunger. There was something that brought them there in order to seek advice, in order for the Akomfo to possess or to do divination, or whatever took place at the shrine. Now, the thing that about Nana Yao Pari Dini Zulu was Nana was the one that brought a comb to America, took it out of the shrine houses, and opened up the public to it. In Ghana or different places, I'll just talk about Ghana, what I know from the Akonadi tradition and some other traditions in Ghana. The deities, the ancestors, would have their afashes. They would have their yearly celebrations where they invited the village, or they invited the town, or they invited everyone. So therefore, the public would have a glimpse of what took place at the shrine. But they would not experience a comb on a weekly basis or the frequencies that we do. Nana opened up the idea. So if we want to talk about traditions changing, I can say that that's his tradition that he brought it to the public, and not just something that was at shrine houses.
I'll go, Mipacho. This is Nana Kwesi again. I wanted to agree with what Enson just said, that Nana Dinazulu's mission was different than the mission of Okomfo in Ghana, or Okomfo Henny's in Ghana, or Oman Henny's in Ghana. His mission was to popularize and introduce this traditional, the culture and the religion here in America. So if the Akom on a weekly basis, aside from, in addition to being a training preparation for Okomfo, it was a way to expose and introduce the culture to African Americans. It continues to serve that purpose. And so the function, I think, is still very important. How we utilize it and how we promote it and how we perpetuate it, it's still on us. But we have to keep a distinction between what his mission or our missions are and what they do in Ghana.
Thank you. Thank you, Inson and Nana Kwesi.
Now, before you close it, I just wanted to add to that just a little bit, just adding on to Kwesi Cherry for Dako's statement. If the Akom is when we come together with that spiritual energy, the process and the way in which we do it is through possession. So it's all part of it. That's how that happens. That's how the connect goes on, is through the possession. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. As I'm thinking also, as a part of practicing culture, at Akom, what we generally do is practice the communication with the deities and the ancestors. And maybe we need to have a vehicle where we show people that there are other areas that they can be involved in the culture, and not just that of the Akomfo.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we would grow a lot faster. It took like 20 years to get some people to commit to becoming an Akomfo. In the meantime, maybe they could be something else as a part of the culture. And we have to stop letting hip hop take the word, the culture, away.
Well, I definitely agree. There's positions and functions for everyone. That was one of the things that made Nana such a great person, is that he took everybody's personality and he put it together, or talents, and put it together and made it work, regardless of whatever it was. If you could just only walk 3 steps, he would use it. I mean, he took everything that you brought and used it to make it something bigger, which is a talent. You have to have a talent to do something like that. So I think that's critical in terms of bringing this thing all together. We need to use whatever talents that we have and understand that in the culture, there's a position for everybody in terms of there's a function. You can't all just be a Akomfo. There's a whole bunch of other things that's going on. So with that said, I thank everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. We got a couple more days and we're out of 2023 going into 2024. Time flies. I can't believe it. It's another calendar year, but we give thanks to Almighty God for allowing us to be here. I pray that everyone has great health in the new year and that you receive everything that you pray for. Thank you for coming out, and you will hear from me again. Good night.
Thank you, Kwesi.
All right, thank you very much, Kwesi. I think
you,
we've
Kwesi.
already opened up for another topic here, just on how do we continue.
What's the other topic?
This whole process of our continuing as we move into new time. How do we continue with this in this new era of making sure that what we practice continues?
Yes, it's important. Very important.
Yes. So it's another big conversation needs to be had quickly. Madasi.
Good night. Good night.
Nana Kwesi,
Yes.
this is Okomfo Yakumi. You and I had a conversation earlier in the week, and I just want to put on people's minds that we, according to Christian belief system, we're in the last days, and they are pressing hard for quote unquote souls. And Steve Harvey has a lot of programming during the course of the day. And there is a commercial that comes on his program that says, when you die, are you going to heaven or not? You can know for sure, heaven or not.net. And I just want to let everyone know that Christians are pressing hard for souls. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I saw that. I've seen it a lot since we had a conversation. It wasn't even on my radar. I'm like, it is down there. So, but thank you. All right, guys. Good night. Enjoy your family. Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you very much, and good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye all.
Bye.
Good night, everyone. This is Jawa. Also, don't forget next Sunday is a Surgery Afia. It's festival next week, so everyone's welcome in Brooklyn. I believe it's on the Cone Case.
Yes,
it's out there. So that's next Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody be safe.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
night.